This program contains crazy material, including offensive language. Listening discretion is advised.
Welcome to the Halloween episode of A VO's Padded Room. This week, the guys sit down with Domingo Castillo. So strap on your straitjackets and join Big Jim and Brad Storm in A VO's Padded Room.
Our guest this week on A VO's Padded Room has over 2 decades of experience as a voice actor. Even though our guest resides in Chicago, he has brought to life numerous scripts from clients worldwide. Our guest has experience as a professor at the School of Media Art, enjoyed the past 20 plus years as a professional kick-ass musician, and is currently repped by Lily's Talent, Chicago and Trailer Voice Artists, and Thousand Oaks. It's time to get strapped in the padded room because Domingo Castillo, you are locked in and mic'd up. Oh, yeah.
That's me. I'm here. Yes, I made it.
You're here. Hey,
close.
real quick before we go blast into the past, were you a little bit nervous getting on this show?
I will say yes. I don't have a lot of experience doing these, so to be honest and forthright, yes, a little bit nervous.
Well, we appreciate you spending some time with us in this 30-minute time frame. And I want to take you back in time. I know you are a Chicago resident, but is that where you always lived? Is that where you found your love for broadcasting and radio and voiceover?
My parents, we moved out here when maybe I was less than 1 year old, so I've been in the Chicago area pretty much my whole life. Yes, you're right.
And so, like, as a child, what got you pulled into the, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to get behind the mic, or I want to play an instrument. What brought you to that?
Yeah, the instrument part, that happened first. I was about 12 years old, and I found in my closet my mother's old acoustic guitar from when she picked up guitar when she was in college, but I never knew it was in there. I was just rummaging around, and I asked her if I could play it and have it, and she said yes. And so just kind of experimenting with that instrument. But I had a friend in the neighborhood who had an older uncle who played electric guitar, and I remember once going to my friend's house to pick him up to play, and I just remember hearing this. It was a summer late morning, and what was coming through the blinds in the window I couldn't see, but I'd never heard an electric guitar up close before, and my friend came out. I said, "What is that?" And he said, "Oh, that's my uncle." And I said, "No, what is that sound?" And he's playing guitar. Like, wow. So I mean, I was 11, 12 years old when that happened, and geez, that was 40 years ago. So I've been a gigging musician these last few decades. So,
what were your influences back then as a youngster?
Yeah, so I had a handful of lessons from this older kid in the neighborhood, and he had all the Zeppelin albums and all the classic rock albums, and then through that you kind of find your own people. I loved Rush, of course, and then as the eras go on, here comes the '80s, and so Van Halen. Oh boy, you can't deny that, and Steve Vai and people like Yngwie Malmsteen and it just continues, and I don't really sound like any of them, but I admire all of them, and I like to feel that maybe I've stole a little bit from all those people and brought my own style together.
I remember listening to Yngwie Malmsteen when I was younger. Sorry, but man, he was one of the best, if not the best guitarist, I believe, right, in the world.
Yeah, he brought something Richie Blackmore did something similar before Yngwie did, but that degree of virtuosity on the instrument wasn't something that was common in '83. Certainly, Van Halen was doing things that nobody had heard before. Yngwie brought kind of his own thing, and there was a time, I think one summer in '85 when Yngwie was a lot of what I listened to back then as a 15-year-old.
That's cool. Now, okay, so let me ask you, David Lee Roth, as far as the lead singer?
Oh, well, me personally, I'll go about this backwards. I have an appreciation for the pop music and the songwriting of Sammy Hagar. But for me personally, I go David Lee Roth, Van Halen, like early Van Halen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we lost a lot of great musicians in the last couple of years, and it's been it's hit home for a lot of us, like with Neil Peart and with Van Halen and all them. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. And so I'm 50 now, and I think I was having this discussion with my wife, and I feel like as we get older, I feel like part of getting old is seeing some of your childhood heroes pass on, and just reminders of your own mortality, and you don't know when it's your turn, and so let's try and do the best we can while we're here. Brad, your motto cracks me up: punch every day in the face.
That's right.
Well,
That's right.
I appreciate the spirit of that. I'm not quite as violent, but I appreciate the action.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Yeah.
This is the only day you have. Let's take advantage.
Yeah, let's take it out. Knock it out of the park.
Let's tap it out.
Back in the MMA days, I would be like, Joe Stevens is going to punch you in the face. And I tried to like figure out a way to make, and I'm like, yeah, this does sound a little bit violent in, the context of the world today. But hey, you know what? That's what we're all doing anyway. That's what we're all doing. We're grinding away. We're trying to knock those days out and be productive.
I agree. And I appreciate the spirit in which you intend when you say that.
Did you ever sing in any of your bands that you were involved in?
I do, yeah. Back so going back to my first original band, just out of high school. So this is late 80s. There was four of us, and we had a singer who played bass. There were four of us, so three up front and then a drummer in back. But all three of us up front kind of learned how to sing. We had the main guy singing in front, but the two guitar players on the end, I was one of them. We learned how to do backing vocals. And ultimately, a few bands that I was a part of, I was the male singer for a while. So, yeah.
Did you learn, like, when you were singing? Because I know when I was in a band and I was singing, if I would have known the vocal, the breathing techniques, the volume, the tonality of your voice, if I would have known a lot of those things performing on stage, I think I would have saved my voice, and I think I wouldn't have been so exhausted at the end of shows. What did you learn by singing on stage?
Yeah, you're right. There have been moments that I've experienced exactly what you are describing, where you just incorrect breathing and just running out of gas, and you get to the third chorus after the solo, and you got nothing because you used it all up for the first half of the song. So to answer your question, I think what did I learn was pacing yourself. I appreciate right out of the gate you want to hit them with a good one, but if you don't pace yourself, within 20 minutes you're out of gas, and and you got
Well,
nothing.
the 80s were a partying time too. I mean, did you guys look at these big rock stars and go, "Oh, we got to party it up like all the big time rock stars," or were you guys diligent in your pursuit?
Yeah, so my case is a bit different because I'll just be open here. I had my first beer, I think, when I was 13 or 14, and by the time I was 17. I would do these things where I would see if I could give up something. And I would just see, maybe I can give up chocolate for a month, or maybe I'll give up something for a little while. And when I was 17, I got to the point where I thought, I wonder if I can give up this drinking stuff. And not that I necessarily had an issue with it, but I would just find ways to challenge myself because I was a nerdy kid. And I've been sober for 33 years.
Oh, congratulations on that.
So thank you. There wasn't a whole lot of partying going on for me in the 80s. I appreciated it. And the band that I was in the 80s certainly didn't sound like a party 80s. But I mean, we loved Rush
That's what I was
and the
saying, 'cause
Police.
Rush, they weren't big time partiers. They weren't
Right.
drinkers. They wrote about like adventures and fascinations and things that were not of the norm. Progressive rock, right? Prog rock.
You're right. That being said, I mean, I do have an appreciation. Again, I mentioned early Van Halen, and even when the first Motley Crue album came out, I had it on cassette and couldn't get enough of it. And then the second album blew up, and that was all over. So I appreciated it, but I think hedonistic lifestyle wasn't ever kind of my thing.
That's great. That's great. So you get out of high school. What do you do after that?
Yeah, getting out of high school, I have exactly 2 college courses to my credit. I don't have a college degree. So I'm 18, and my family and I move out to the suburbs of Chicago where I don't know anybody. And I found a community college where I decided, well, all my friends are either going to college or taking classes. I'll go to this college and I'll see what classes I can take. And so I took a music class and I took a photography class. And that's it. That was the extent of my college experience. I started working at the mall for the next 6 or 7 years. And I had interests, but I didn't focus in. So schooling wasn't for me. This is going to come out wrong, but I didn't pursue a college career. I just kind of slagged it out in the mall for a while, and then what happened was I was introduced to this broadcasting school, which it was a Big Jim, the Illinois Center for Broadcasting, or is it Brad? Is it you that
I was
that went
Connecticut
there?
School of Broadcasting.
Connecticut School of Forgive me.
Yeah.
When I went, it was also called the Connecticut School of Broadcasting.
Nice.
I was
Yeah.
just agreeing with you. I didn't
Oh, forget, yeah,
have no idea. Oh yeah, that's it.
and so I never knew that this broadcasting thing, the school existed, but I enrolled, and then from then I started a career in radio here in Chicago.
What are some of the lessons you learned pursuing that career in radio?
Yeah, we're all just people. We're all, I mean, working at this major market station here in Chicago, it was kind of intimidating because there were people who are established and legendary performers. Some of the air staff people were legends in Chicago radio. But then working closely with them, they're just people. And, be cool with them and they're cool with you. And of course, everybody has an off day. Everybody gets a frog in their throat sometimes, like now, and that's okay. We all just kind of learn and grow together. I've made my fair share of mistakes. I remember there was a time or two when I knocked us off the air, maybe 3 times when I accidentally knocked us off the air at the station, and I learned. But yeah, we all make our mistakes.
Hey, Jim, you got anything to add to this conversation?
Well, I gotta go back to this knocking off the air.
Sure.
Were you the FNG when you did that, or had you had some time under your belt? FNG.
New guy.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was, so the first time I did that, I was probably, so I started as an intern at the station, so that was 4 months. But when I got hired, I think when I did that big mistake of knocking us off the air, I think it was the overnight shift, and it was within my first year of working there.
Okay, can you imagine primetime man? Horrible.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah.
Jumping from radio into voiceover, completely different. Not only the sound, but the way you deliver, the message.
Oh, yeah.
What helped you basically transition from radio to VO?
Yeah, I sometimes still think I'm working on that transition. My radio station kind of folded up back in 2009. It changed formats and became something else, and we all moved on. It's only until recently, maybe the last 4 years, that I started doing VO work independently. And I know a lot of my earlier work sounded kind of radio-ish, broadcaster-ish. There are a lot of great people on YouTube and a lot of great coaches who try and teach us to remember to be mindful of. I should back up and say this. So commercial advertising these days and the sound today is a lot less of that announcer that we knew from when we were younger, and it's more kind of regular kind of speak, and that's something that I'm still trying to work on. I hope to get better at it. Yeah,
absolutely more relatable. Yeah, instead of the one la 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 la, getting that 30 spot in 15 seconds.
Well, it's the hardest thing to do, Jim and Domingo, is to be conversational when you have to be.
True.
Like, we can talk forever and you don't even think twice about it, right?
True.
But then somebody goes, here's a script, and you got to read this like you're talking to your best buddy.
You're
And
right.
your best buddy's not even there. So, it takes a lot of practice. Like, if you had to make bullet points out of dissecting a script and reading it in a conversational tone, what would be the 3 top bullet points?
Sure. So with any script, you want to try and connect to the emotion of the script, maybe the subject matter, or what is the feeling that you're trying to convey. If it's a commercial script, of course, I'm sure there's a feeling that you're trying to convey. If it's a narration or if it's a documentary, or depending on what the project is, you need to connect with that emotion. There are basic acting lessons that that I constantly remind myself, and they say, well, who are you in this particular project? And they say, well, who are you talking to? Is it one person in an intimate room, or is it a large crowd of people that you're addressing? Another interesting thing, and actors will know this, I only recently discovered this. What happened 10 seconds before you started speaking? Maybe you were reacting to something. And so that's going to inform your delivery. And it's a work in progress. I'm still learning and incrementally.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, just trying to get better. And so there are all kinds of lessons that I'm still kind of assimilating.
Now, you've got, like I said earlier in the intro, 23 years of experience as a professor. Now, an adjunct professor, can you explain that? What is an adjunct professor?
Yeah, a lot of, so it's Columbia College Chicago, and there are professors, people who are on campus and who are full-time. The majority of the staff at Columbia College Chicago they call them adjuncts because they're not there full-time. Okay. I think recently I was teaching maybe 1 or 2 classes a week versus the full-time professors are there sometimes 4 or 5 days a week.
Now, like with Connecticut School of Broadcasting, that was over when you were going there. Is it there anymore?
I'm not. Oh wait. So they changed it. So now it's called the Illinois Institute of I forget what it's actually a block down from where my school is. I forget what it's called, but I think the answer is yes. I think it's still there.
Because I remember, I met my voiceover coach through the Connecticut School of Broadcasting, my first one. And, she was working there, being an adjunct kind of professor in voiceover. So, I mean, I don't know if you ever looked into that route as well as teaching at that school, but what better way than to teach at home?
I agree. Yeah.
With COVID, things have changed a lot for people. What's been the biggest change with you and your business in voiceover? Yeah,
I think specifically the way the world has pivoted recently, it's allowed me the opportunity to teach online now, I'll share this story, and I've said it publicly before. Big Jim is aware of this, and Brad, I mentioned this before, but Big Jim and I were in a VO workshop on a Sunday, maybe 6 months ago, and I had never met him before, but we connected, and Big Jim messaged me, and I think he said, "Do you offer one-on-one coaching?" And I think I said, "I don't, but I'm happy to just jump on a call with you and talk and say hello." And so we jumped on that call, and within 5 minutes, Big Jim says, "Would you like to speak to our Friday group?" And I say this openly. My knee-jerk reaction was, "No, I don't want to speak to your Friday group. I barely know you."
What do you want from me?
Yeah, but I'm trying to. It's like that Seinfeld episode where you do everything the opposite. And there was a point in Rush's career when they decided to say yes to things when they would normally say no. Yeah. And I thought, okay, let's get out of my comfort zone. And I said to Big Jim, yes, I will speak to your Friday group. And it led to me developing the ability to teach online. You have a wonderful group, and some of those students are still with me today. And so this particular COVID situation, I mean, we're doing things online now, a lot of video calls, and I think probably the best thing for me personally that has happened is being able to teach online.
Now you're making me blush. Oh.
So I thank you for taking me out of my comfort zone, and even Brad, even being on this podcast. I think in my experience, I've only been on 3 podcasts ever. This is the 3rd one. And I don't normally, I'm not comfortable doing these things because I don't have a ton of experience. Again, let's get out of my comfort zone and let's say yes and let's have fun and see what happens. So,
let the games begin. Let the games begin.
let the games begin.
Today we have a super fun Halloween treat. Domingo, we're going to ask you to read an excerpt from A Baby's Got Back. As you ready for this? That's Vincent Price. Whenever you're ready, the mic is yours.
All right. So to try and remember Vincent Price and the speech that he did at the end of that Michael Jackson Thriller song. Well, here we go. Vincent Price.
I like big butts and I cannot lie. You other brothers can't deny that when a girl walks in with an itty bitty waist and a round thing in your face, you get sprung. Baby got back.
He's a Halloween boogeyman. He comes with a master plan.
Domingo, you're the best, bud.
Yeah.
I love it. Happy Halloween.
It's not that hard. People go, "Oh, you're gonna give me a script? Oh, what am I gonna have to read it some way?" I'm like, that's not that bad. It's not that bad. We just have fun. That's all. You know?
Get your guess. It's not as hard as it sounds.
No, it's not. I mean, and having fun. That's what it's all about, because we are all cooped up in our houses a lot of time as voiceover artists. And it's good to interact with each other and, kind of let loose for a little bit. Why don't our topic for today is like confidence in coaching, obviously, right? And these last 10 minutes, I really want to focus on that.
Okay, sure.
You talked about like practicing with us. And, I think some people, they go into coaching too soon where they don't really have the validation or the work or the portfolio, so to speak, to teach. But I might be wrong on that. What is your thoughts on maybe possibly people being too eager too soon?
So to be on the coaching side of it, what I do, or to be coached?
The coaching side.
So in my case, I remember my first class that I ever taught at the college, and I was very nervous and I made a lot of mistakes. But, again, having done that for over 20 years, I have a degree of confidence going into a classroom. I know it's never going to be perfect. I'll make a mistake and that's okay. And I've learned to be able to forgive myself and recover if I make a mistake or move on or learn from it. For myself personally, I think having 20 years in the 20 plus years in the classroom has helped me. But that being said, it's all a learning experience. Some things will happen in the classroom environment. Some things sometimes that I've never experienced before, and so it's a learning thing for me. How do I navigate this? How do I react to this? Or how do I pivot and make this a learning experience? So, yeah, I learned that it's all in life. It's all teaching. It's all learning. We're either teaching something to each other or learning from each other. We have messages to share to each other. We have lessons to learn from each other. And I consider myself a perpetual student. I use that tag a lot. And I'm constantly learning. So to answer your question, I think if you're going to go into coaching, hopefully you have some degree of confidence. Hopefully it's not your first classroom experience. I don't know if you could be an effective coach if you've never been in a classroom before. I suppose it's possible.
Right.
But yeah, I guess all I could do is just share my own experience with you. I mean, just my years of being in a classroom at the college level have allowed me to pivot and do this online.
Yeah, I think with coaching, you got to get coached to be a coach, I believe.
True.
The coaching that you've provided me and Big Jim has been really beneficial for myself.
As far as content wise, I understand as far as teaching, and I teach a little here and there in the military as well, but as far as knowing the content, is there a certain, I won't say time frame, like year, 2 years, is there a certain point to where one should say, hey, you know what? Okay, I think somebody gets some value out of what I have, and something like that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And it's tricky when you say, well, how many years should I allow? 1 or 2 or 3? Well, if you're only practicing 5 minutes a week, You can do that for 10 years and still not be very good. So it depends on how often you're in there and working it and reading. Big Jim, you mentioned a good point. If you've received coaching, then that can help you be a better coach yourself. I've received my fair share of coaching, and I still do. And I observe what the coach does on these calls, and I learn from that. Sometimes there are things that I see that, oh, that's a good technique, or that's a great way of handling that. And then sometimes I see things that I disagree with, and that's okay too. But I believe you got to come from it with, this is going to sound a little trippy, but you have to have a love for it. I love teaching. I learned that over 20 years ago when I was in my classroom. I laugh so much with my students, and we get our work done. But that was mostly all college students. Now I'm coaching adults and some people who are similar age as me or older. But I still love doing it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from. A love for the craft.
Okay, now would you say somebody new out there looking for a coach, would you suggest they look for a coach that has a coach?
Oh.
So that, they're always learning as well, and not just, they don't feel like they're, I don't know, terminal and they're
yeah, that's an interesting point, Jim. I wouldn't draw the line and say you need to find a coach who is also studying with someone, because I'm sure someone on either end of that spectrum can still offer worthwhile advice and guidance. So I think the answer to that would be no. You don't necessarily have to find someone who is currently studying with someone else.
You mentioned one big word, and it's confidence. You have to have confidence in what you're doing. If you go into coaching with no confidence, it might be a train wreck. But, as voiceover artists, we're always interacting and talking to other voiceover artists. And we're always, whether we think of it or not, are helping each other out.
True.
In one way or another. Outside of paying other people, we also help each other out because most of we're friends. So
that's true. Yeah. I mean, I know that you guys host a group of your own that's been meeting weekly, and I hear recently it's been thriving.
We're trying to do different things outside the box, and make it worthwhile.
Yeah, then that's great. I'm glad to hear that that's going well for you guys.
Well, it's a platform for people to, to vent to us, to celebrate, and to just meet once a week and, catch up on the week. But one thing, though, sitting in your classes, and I really, really enjoy your classes.
Thank you.
But you're always a positive force. There's never any negativity. And when somebody says something bad about themselves, like, oh, I'm not going to be able to read this, you kind of get them, you get them back on track. You're like, no, man, there's none of that.
Yeah.
Think positively. And that is, these interviews have been beneficial to me because I've taken things from Corey Disson. I've taken things from you. I mean, things that I've taken and incorporated.
Yeah.
It's like, I was a very negative person for a while. Oh, I can't get this done. I'm never going to make it. I'm not going to do this. But I think people come in your life for a reason. I think you came into my life to just say, hey, turn that frown upside down, bro. Stop being so hard on yourself and enjoy what you're doing, like you said.
I agree. And, for whatever reason, we tend to kind of focus on the negativity. I remember a time in my early mid-20s when I was playing in a disco band. We had the crazy costumes and we're doing the fun music.
Yeah.
And there's this crowd, it's a small club. There's this crowd of people in front of us who are loving it and dancing and having a great time and smiling. And I see one guy in the back with his arms folded. And for whatever reason, he gets my attention. And for the next 3 or 4 songs, I'm focused on this one guy in the back who's not having a good time. And I thought, I've got 30 people in front of me who are loving this. Why am I focusing on the negative? And I think maybe it's just human nature that we tend to sometimes focus on these negative things. And so it's an attitude adjustment, and it doesn't happen overnight. But I've said this, that I believe that gratitude is the secret to happiness. The more you look at your life and see that how fortunate you are and how you don't have to look far to find somebody else who is not as fortunate as you. And so you should feel gratitude in that, boy, my life's actually not as bad as I thought. And so I adopted that attitude probably when I was about 7 or 8.
That's great.
Yeah, and it's worked for me, and I believe that it creates this positivity that's just continuing. So I want to ask a quick question for you guys. So you've been doing the podcast for a while. Are there specific challenges that you have when you are in this this forum with a talent?
Working with this guy here, man. I'm just kidding.
Oh no.
Well, it's not so much. We had to like work together and learn how to work together as a team, and
Right.
you know, and the only way you can do that is through constant communication.
Right. I
And
think, yeah.
and we've been, you know, this has been like I told him, I told Jim, I said 25 episodes in, we'll develop a Instagram page, we'll develop a Facebook page, and so forth and so on. But I want to make sure that we can fine tune this machine, and so we can keep pushing out like creating social media content, editing the show, you know, adding effects, getting interviews, getting the bios, you know, stuff like that. Podcasting is a challenge, and a lot of people are like, oh, I want to start my own podcast. I've been doing podcasts for a very long time, and I know what it takes to get the job done the right way. And Jim and I, we've grown, I think, closer through this, because, you know, we had a powwow session for a little bit, and then, but we're best friends. I would never,
Yeah.
you know, bail on my buddy Jim, because I love him as a friend. So,
Absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
and it's like, I appreciate you, Domingo. I really do.
Thank you, Brad.
Not only the cohesiveness, but scheduling. You know, we're two different parts of the country. You know, I'm in
Yeah.
God's country, you know, and Texas, and he's, you know, in
Yeah.
Carolina. And I think scheduling, not only the hour difference, but, you know, we've each got families, we each got, you know, work. And
Well, plus he stays up all
Stuff like
night, and
that.
I don't. I go to bed at night, and
Yeah.
I'm up early in the morning. So, but we get it done.
yeah, I have PTSD and insomnia.
Oh boy.
So yeah, from, you know, as a combat vet, so, you know, I'm still dealing with that. But you know, to bring it back, yeah, the cohesiveness is now there. It's
Well, a thing that I admire, you do this because you love it. Obviously, you have, and when I see your postings and I see the enthusiasm that you have for this show, this podcast, it's obvious to me as an outsider. I see, boy, those guys love what they do, and I admire that.
And we love talking to you guys. We really do. I mean, like you said, you got to love voiceover. We love voiceover. And what better way to show our appreciation than giving you guys and girls a platform to tell your story?
Nice.
It's great, I think.
not
And
and
have
not
some
in
fun.
a you know, stuffy way.
Right.
So, you know, first off, thank you, Domingo, for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Well, why don't you take a few minutes and let the folks know where they can find more out about you and stuff?
Sure. You know, this whole this whole LinkedIn thing is new to me. I think I've only been on it for just a little over a year, and I've connected with a lot of great people, as well as former coworkers too. So you can look me up on LinkedIn. Again, my first name is Domingo, Domingo, and my last name is Castillo, Castillo. Or if you're connected with Brad or Big Jim on LinkedIn, you can find me in their acquaintance list as well. My website is domingovoiceover.com. You can reach me that way. A little while ago, I started building a YouTube channel. I just post examples of my work. And then recently I started posting videos with my face in the work too. I never thought I would do that, but I've shared examples of wonderful things that have happened in my own career. So my YouTube channel is Domingo Voiceover, and you can find me that way.
Awesome. And then Brad, how about you?
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, Brad Storm VO on Instagram, on Twitter, Brad Storm Voiceover on Facebook. BradStormVO.com is my website, and Brad Storm Lanou is my LinkedIn.
And before we close, please, if y'all would take a minute and leave us a comment or review on the platform that you listen to, that'd be amazing. And also, don't forget, when life gets you down and shit gets real, you gotta
Punch every day in the face!
Yeah!